So as you think about the challenges that are most pressing right now in academic medicine and in healthcare broadly, how are physician leaders uniquely poised to address those challenges and advance organizations?
So, the academic medical centers, as you know, are going through tremendous times of change and tremendous times of transition, both as it relates to shrinking margins, increasing diversity and inclusion, increasing reliance on technology, and merging of other health systems, looking at what are really the relevance of AMCs. I firmly believe that physician leaders are really primed to help in those solutions. Providers understand how their decisions impact clinical care and can make decisions more quickly, more effectively, because they know the impact that those decisions have.
Yeah. Well, as Beth points out, the laundry list of challenges is daunting. And I think one of the things that's notable over the past decade has been the scale of transition, scale and speed of transition. And in that context, as you might imagine, the opportunity for uncertainty to emerge and dominate the decision-making in academic medicine is a potential vulnerability and risk. And as Beth points out, the training of physicians to be able to dissect problems in a diagnostic way and to formulate plans that make sense is something that they've been particularly well trained to do.
So despite that training in the diagnostic phase, sometimes physicians or researchers, whether on the clinical side or the research side, face challenges as they evolve into leadership. What do you think some of the reasons for that are, and how can that be overcome?
Well, it's an interesting question, Kim. I think that physicians, whether they're involved in clinical medicine or in research, have spent a long part of their training in developing their own expertise, their individual skills that they translate in narrower ways frequently than the senior leadership of an academic medical center requires. And so the difficulty that I think some leaders in healthcare have is being able to transition into a team leadership role. That it's no longer just about him or about her and their specific career development, but this is about the management of other people, the assembling of a team of people who participate in the leadership of an organization, and being able to do that as someone who delegates responsibilities instead of taking hands-on responsibility for every single element that runs through decision making.
So one avenue some physicians who are interested in leadership are pursuing is the MBA route. So from your perspective, for both of you as leaders and as executive search consultants now, is this a good avenue? Is there value in it? What are your thoughts?
So I think it's a personal decision. I think one of the pitfalls, though, where people decide that they get an MBA and then they expect they're going to have leadership. That is a tool, it is a path, but it's not the way to necessarily the way to get there. So I think it's an individual decision based on, do they need knowledge? There is specific knowledge that you may not have about the business of medicine that it will give you, but you must display leadership and be able to work collaboratively, work in a team. It also is not just an MBA, it can be an MHA or MMM. So you have to decide, Master's in Public Health, what is the knowledge that you think you may have opportunities, but it may not be there. And as executive search consultants, most of the time it is not required. So it is not an absolute. It will usually say preferred or optional. So it will not limit you from being able to obtain leadership roles.
I agree with that, Kim, and I'd like to add that I do think that MBA training is good for some individuals, for some candidates, particularly those individuals who've not had any prior exposure to the formal discipline of business or finance. There are many of us who came up through academic medicine leadership roles and found other ways of educating ourselves about those issues. But for some individuals who have a particular interest in understanding the subtleties and nuances of the business aspects, particularly of the clinical enterprise, I do think it's one of those things that helps those individuals engage conversations with their more finance-minded colleagues in a way that adds to their credibility. I certainly agree with Beth that that credential, the MBA credential, doesn't necessarily make a candidate a more substantial candidate than one without formal training, but it is another element of the technical competencies that some candidates bring to the table.
So what can institutions do? Academic health systems, medical schools, what can they do to help prepare physicians for leadership in the future? And where have you seen them work? And tell us a little bit about your experiences around that.
So I think they have a critical role, right? So one is they have to identify. They have to be on the lookout for people that have talents and skills that they think need a development. And then they have to give opportunities for those people to learn. Learn in small projects, learn in running committees, learn in working collaboration with a team, with a clinical program development. Typically maybe even allow them to take extra training, give them abilities to go do national meetings. That training can also occur on the national scene in national organizations so that they can develop. I also think it's extremely important that the individual physician look for both a mentor, someone who has been there, who can help them see opportunities that they might not otherwise realize, who can give them advice on their career that are not part of their evaluative process, not their boss. It's someone who can be honest with them, as well as sometimes getting a coach, really different. A coach helps you take your inherent skills and figure out how they can be the best. Institutions have a responsibility, I think, and the physician has a responsibility to seek it out. It is both pieces sort of going and allowing them the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Beth, and I think, Kim, also that the institutions that do it well see professional development as part of their DNA. That part of what makes the institution as valuable as it is leadership's commitment to bringing people along, not just into the leadership team of that institution, but to prepare some people for leadership roles at other institutions. And the other comment that I would make is that the institutions that do it well do it more than episodically. So while there are a number of really well done leadership training programs in a variety of, perhaps the majority of academic medical centers, the institutions that do it particularly well do it in a number of ways, both within their own institutions and, as Beth points out, in creating opportunities for particularly promising individuals to take advantage of training programs in other settings, whether they're professional societies or other institutions.
Beth, Tony, thank you. This has really been enlightening. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Kim.